Can you briefly share your journey from medical training to building a private medical practice?
In terms of my training after medical school, I trained on the surgical rotations within the East Midlands. I spent 6 years training through the various specialties within ear, nose, and throat surgery, and specializing. I then spent an extra year getting extended surgical training, and then I was appointed as a consultant at the University Hospitals of Leicester, and that was in 2012. So prior to that, my journey in terms of training, before you become a consultant in the United Kingdom, there is an examination that is taken, which is a national examination in the United Kingdom for certification. And I was very fortunate to get first position in that. I was awarded the gold medal in that for ENT. I then started my consultant career, and it was a very busy job. It would be my thoughts on that and reflection on my journey.
At what point did you decide to take private practice seriously rather than treating it as extra work?
I think right from day one, actually. I think I'm the kind of person, my personality and nature. If I do something, I want to do it properly. I'm not a kind of let's give it a go type of person. That's certainly never been my style and never been my approach to anything in life. So if I start something, I will do it properly. And so I went in serious, and I worked very hard in terms of with the patients to ensure they were offered high quality care. So yeah, so it was never a kind of a dip in. I always went in wanting to do this really well, and to this day, that remains my kind of commitment.
What do you feel like has changed the most in the private medical practice sector in the UK over the last 5 to 10 years?
It's a very good question, and private practice comes in ebbs and flows, and dependent on market forces as well. So there was initially when you start, most of your work comes from insured patients. You sign up with the private medical insurance companies, and they resupply you with the patient. But as you build up your kind of reputation, get known, what you find is the balance changes, and then you start to see more self-pay patients. So I think at the beginning of your career, what tends to happen is it's private medical insured patients. And then after a few years, you start the self-pay builds up. And then you get to a kind of a state where perhaps it's half and half. There was a period, however, a few years ago in the United Kingdom, for whatever reason, private market, in terms of the insurance market, really did suffer. And it went, this was just prior to COVID, and we started to see a lot more self-pay patients. And then what happened post-COVID, because of the waiting list through the NHS, patients started taking out private medical insurance. So now it's back to kind of about 50-50, half and half. But yes, but it does go through phases. And as I said, we went through a phase where there was very little insured work, and mainly self-funded. Now it's about a mixture. And certainly in my specialty, it's a mixture. I know in some other specialties, that balance can be quite different.
What skills do private medical consultants need today that medical training in school doesn't prepare them for?
So I think the medical training in the United Kingdom is very good. And in terms of the surgical training, and the surgical training program is intense. It's long compared to other countries in the world. And so I think the quality of consultant that's produced is very high. So I don't think there is an issue in terms of competency, in terms of being able to do the job. I think it's the softer skills that are more important that aren't always taught. So being able to communicate. Now, somebody may well be the world's best technician, but their patient interaction, communication, demeanor may not quite be at the highest level. I think that is certainly that would be detrimental in the private sector. When patients come to see you, they know you're good. They've seen your kind of profile online. You're at the top of your field. You're good. But when they come to see you, they don't find somebody who's warm and welcoming, then my guess is perhaps they may say, yes, you are very well qualified, but that doesn't instill confidence in them. So I think it's very important, in answer to your question, the softer skills. And that's not and they aren't taught in training. You're taught the trade. You're not taught the art necessarily. And I think that's very important. Being able to, and what I have learned with experience is what's also very important is being able to understand the complaint from the patient's perspective. And that means being able to listen. And listening takes time. And I think that's where private practice really does offer an advantage is that you do have longer with the patient. So a typical consultation in the NHS will be much shorter. In private practice, you have longer, so you can spend time listening in detail. And I think that's very important, being able to listen to a patient, understand their complaints, and then address them.
Why do you think some highly skilled surgeons and consultants struggle privately while others thrive?
It depends. If you're doing a private practice can get busy, and effectively you're doing two jobs. And so when you say thriving, um, I think there are multiple factors there. I think somebody who goes in not expecting to, be to have to work very hard and put in extra time. Well, I think they will find a shock hits them at some stage. So it is busy. It needs organization and efficiency. And I think the other thing that's very important is you can't do it all yourself. You need a network, and so secretarial support is very important. And somebody, cannot really see how one would run a successful private practice without adequate secretarial and administrative support. Because certainly as a doctor, my emphasis is on the patient, in seeing the patients and delivering care, but all the administration that goes in the background, that has to be handled by someone. You can't do that all yourself. I think that's, and I think that, so a network of an infrastructure there to deliver practice is very important.
What mindset shift has had the biggest impact on your private practice growth?
I think in answer to that, what's probably most important in my mind is that the patient is your priority. And I think some practitioners may well go into private practice for the wrong reasons. Inevitably, there is a financial component, but my feeling on this is that this has to be about delivering the best possible care to your patients. That has to be priority number one. And I think if those priorities are mixed up, then with time, unfortunately, that practitioner may become undone. So the mindset has to be very clear. This is a clinical job, and you're there to deliver excellent quality care where you've got the additional time to be able to do that. The patient has your sole attention. They're not moving between one doctor and a junior doctor and it's just you. And I think that has to be the priority. And the other things come, or that will come with that, and they follow. And I think that would be the mindset. And that was my mindset from day one, thankfully. And I think that's very important for anybody thinking of coming into private practice, that they get that sorted out first in their mind.
How do you see AI changing private medical practice over the next few years?
I think it's inevitable. It will come in. Where I don't see, if there is any worry that it's going to replace the practitioner, I think that's not going to happen. Certainly in my career, I don't think that will happen. But where I think it will help will be in terms of with the administrative side. So in terms of booking, so that would help with the secretarial side. Also in terms of letters and typing letters and getting letters to patients and GPs. So all the administrative side, I think AI is going to help massively in that. Whether, instead of seeing me, you'll have an iPad in the room, you walk in and you'll talk to an iPad or a robot. I can't see that happening in the very near future.
If you could give one piece of advice to consultants just starting up their private practice today, what would that be?
I think is do your homework. Don't rush into it. There's a lot of legwork to be done, which will probably take around about 12 months, which is going along to young consultant forums, inquiring about what you need to have set up, is speaking to accountants, because in terms of the structure and how you'll get paid. So there's a lot of homework to be done, visiting the hospitals, looking at your skill set and how you'd want to advertise yourself. So within a specialty, are you just going to be doing one procedure? Are you especially one thing, or are you offering the whole service? So there is, I think with this is going to be a lifelong commitment until retirement. And I think not rushing straight into this, but doing your homework, speaking to your colleagues, which sometimes is easier said than done, particularly if they're already in practice. But speak to other colleagues, other specialties, attending meetings, attending forums, young consultant groups, seeing what administrative support is out there. So all of that is vital. Just as anybody would prepare for an exam, you would not go into an exam having not prepared. There's a period of months in which there's preparation. I think for private practice, I'd say 6 to 12 months of really good research and how you want to portray yourself in the field.